Hi guys, welcome to tonight's build. We're going to be looking at this Sorc stroke Stormweaver minion bow build, snipe build that was spun 2 weeks ago, and it has been an interesting journey so far. So we started this 2 weeks ago, and as I say, what was spun was a Stormweaver with the condition that it was a minion build and also using a bow and sniper, and they're not the best synergy. Minions and bows and snipes isn't the best synergy, and Stormweaver is kind of a bit of a mishmash, but I kind of feel like I made it work. This build will be up on the website. You can check out all the builds here. If you just click on the Path of Exile 2 builds, you've got the 0.4, 0.3 builds. By all means, check those out, and this one will be up under the 0.4 builds. Got quite a few builds this season. I'll be doing one more before it ends, so that'll be starting tomorrow night, which is why we're doing this build tonight. So just to go through the gameplay style of this, the idea is to freeze on the front bar using minions, and then snipe on the back bar to then optimize on that freezing damage that we've got and blast them. So I will show you a quick run of the build. We've got a 14 map on this. I don't want to go too heavy on this, and hopefully we're going to get a favourable boss fight. We'll see what happens. Yeah, it has been working quite well. Defences, I am double Ming's Heart on this build, which is basically I've got 0 defense, which makes it very risque. But it is, we are doing crowd control. So the crowd control, oh god, these guys are hitting hard. The crowd control does allow me to, with the freeze, allows me to freeze stuff, which is obviously good. I've got minions coming out from the Orb of Storms, which actually interacts nicely with the Ascendency skill, the Elemental Storm, which from that I'm able to then proc the Living Lightning. So I've got a very cheap low-level Orb of Storms, level 3, and that low-level Orb of Storms then actually cast a level 20 Living Lightning, so which is good. So it's a cheap way of getting a higher skilled or a higher level Living Lightning, which is kind of like the reason for it. I was having a bit of mana issues. I've got Eldritch Battery and Mind Over Matter, so mana is now my life pool as well as my resource for casting skills, so I need to be careful about my mana over anything else, and then my life reserve is basically a backup option just in case I die. What I discovered at the beginning of the stream that I'm on at the moment is that my elemental resistances are low, but also the element threshold that I have is low, and normally that is something that scales off energy shield. Now, because I have no energy shields, as you can see, because it's all into mana, my elemental ailment threshold gets absolutely nailed, because the ailment threshold is something that scales with energy shield. So yeah, I need to find a way to kind of increase that, what I've done, I've used caltrops as a means to get back. Oh, is that guy frozen in the air? Hilarious. Oh, he's over there. What the hell? I know. So I got a rare, and I've got a lost exile. Come on. Oh, he's dead. Oh, good. Yeah, so I'm using caltrops as a way to get back mana, as well as mana remnants. So basically mana remnants are coming from the crit and elemental status, which is another form of getting in my life, and actually are putting my mana over my base mana. Take that. of 1912, so it's going higher up. So Mana Remnants is pretty busted and very, very good, keeping me up. But I do need to make sure that I am a critting, which my little orbs do. So my cheap orbs are a crit based thing. They allow me to generate these storms. There we go, let's go up here. I'm not even using my eye-tipped arrows. Eye-tipped arrows and barrage, I've definitely not been using those recently. I need to. The eye-tipped arrows are really, really strong. I'll take those gem cutters. Obviously I've got Polly. Polly's been around for a while. She's a good bird. Oh, look at that, we leveled up. Nice. Right, here we go. Boss fight. Great. Hyena Lord shouldn't be too difficult, I hope. He says. When she says that, mana, it scares the crap out of me because it basically means I'm going to die. Which I don't like. Come on, baby. Let's get a good boss fight. Oh, so good. Look at that. Absolutely nailed it. And we're talking throughout all the conversation as well, throughout the video as well. Oh, it's going to be a good build, this, boys. The double Ming Sorc. Right, we good? And relax. Okay, so the build. I'm going to take away Polly. Just going to turn Polly off because she makes noises. I mean, you know, she can noise you. So the Vulture, she's my meat shield. She's +1 to minion support elemental, and then she's got life leech on herself. So she's there to act as a bit of a tanky creature to kind of get in the way between me and mobs. Obviously, I am a double Ming's Heart build, so I am no defenses, as I mentioned before. Everything is stacked into mana. So yeah, that's minion part 1. Minion part 2 is on the elemental storm. I've got living lightning, and elemental storm will proc when I crit with the spell. So what I've got is orbs of storm, high crit on Orbs of Storm, and that will then proc a level 20 Elemental Storm. Now the level 3 is really cheap, which is great, so I'm using this as like a cheap catalyst to then start off with the Elemental Storms. I've got Dahlia's Desire for an extra +1 to support gems, because this Living Lightning will get boosted up by that support gem. Embitter, because I know this is going to be procced from a lightning skill, so it'll be a lightning storm, and then I can convert the Embitter part of this onto Living Lightning. So Living Lightning is now going to benefit from all the extra chaos damage and all the extra other damage that I do that isn't cold damage, which is good. And then I got cold exposure, so Living Lightning is going to go around and do cold exposure. Yeah, the Snipe is pretty nice. So front bar is minions freezing using Ice Shot, which Ice Shot is it's a really good skill, and I think it's a bit meta actually. A bit too meta for my liking, but you know, we've got to make stuff work. So I need to freeze. The reason I need to freeze is because Snipe has this interaction on when we do freeze. Let's go back bar because it's a back bar one. We hit on the Snipe about 250,000 damage per second on the Ice Blast if I do the charged up and then land the shot. Which is huge. That's the big damage that we saw at the end of that boss fight. So the idea is to freeze up on the front bar, switch to the back bar, and use a high damage bow to pull off that damage. Now, this bow is by no means optimized. I've got fire and I've got lightning damage on here. All I need is cold, high damage, high projectile skills, and all that sort of stuff. So there's plenty of stuff to kind of like improve in terms of the gear that I've got to make this work. I've just found this cheap on the trade site or on the trading post. So that's kind of where I want to go with it. So front bar is minions. My ice shot's got Embitter on it. It's got freeze for more freeze build up. It's got elemental armaments for more elemental damage. It's got ice bite. So when I do freeze them, I do 30% damage is cold damage for 6 seconds afterwards, because as soon as I freeze them with the ice shot, I'm going straight into Snipe. So Snipe gets that extra 30% damage. And I've gone pinpoint critical as well, so that I'm getting mana remnants, because I need mana remnants. Mana is my life, as I mentioned during the video on the gameplay. Since the last stream that I've did on this build, I've added ice tipped arrows for more ice fragments going around, buffing up my my general, I guess the general shots to the ice shot and snipe. That seems to be working really rather nicely, and I put in barrage as well. So when I do get snipe up, I can use barrage to get, you know, more hits off with that. So those two buffs I am rotating in. I dislike having to rotate stuff in too much, but you know, hey ho, is what it is. I could do with just putting in perpetual charge, heightened charge, and cooldown recovery into barrage, but I was interchanging between these two. I was switching them out, so that's something that I can improve on this build by basically adding those three supports into barrage. We've got the my vulture Polly, who's joining in for the fun. Combat frenzy, obviously, so then we can use barrage and also use ice tipped arrows. Both these ice tip arrows were the skill's cooldown can be bypassed by expending frenzy charges, so I can keep that uptime up on the ice tipped arrows, and the barrage obviously adds more attacks per frenzy charge I have. So I've got combat frenzy on there with charge profusion 2 and clarity 1. Mana remnants, this is my lifeblood, this is what's keeping me alive. So along with trail or caltrops, so I've just added. So the mana remnants, I need to kill which ones enemies are affected by elemental ailments, which there will be. They'll be chilled at least, but also critically hitting a target with elemental ailments will also span remnants, so I want to make sure that I am critting on hits. Caltrops is another form of life regeneration, which I just thought of. Initially I was putting Living Lightning in here, but it works really well with the Orb of Store rotation, so I'm leaving that out. Caltrops is now using Ocean's Oath for mana leech from support skills recovery based on elemental damage type. So I'm using Embitter on this to convert a load of damage from this into cold damage, and then I'm leeching that cold damage using the Ocean's Oath. I've got life leech in there just because I've got a little bit of physical damage. I thought, well, you know, I've got a little bit of life, so just in case. And then multi-shot to increase the numbers of caltrops knocking around, so I can then get those leech back. So that kind of works. So they kind of like my defensive mechanism on this. So yeah, that's kind of like the skill lot, the skill trees. There's variations that I was using as well as overwhelming presence, which increases the freeze threshold, which is nice, but it is determined by a radius, which is actually really quite big now. I don't know why it's so bloody big. That's huge. Yeah, so overwhelming, because it's level, isn't it? Yeah, that presence is pretty big. So overwhelming presence could work really well if you want to get a bit more freeze build up. But I've gone for the more defense on the caltrops. Time and Neem was another one I was doing while discovering my elemental ailment threshold was quite weak. Something that I've been working on to try and get up. Just on the stats while we're here before we go into gear and passive tree. Life is 927, mana is 1916. That is not a massive pool to go by. Spirit is 242. Armor's 3, evasion 3, block is 0. I mean, Ming's heart is slamming me hard. If I take off both the Ming's hearts, my life does go to 1466. Armor's 8 and evasion 7. I mean, you know, an energy shield. I don't get energy shield because obviously my passive's in the passive tree. So yeah, but both those in, I do a lot more damage. And then yeah, my resistances are slightly better than they were. Fire 72, cold 75, lightning 56, chaos 48. So they're okay could be better. What else things do we need in here? Element threshold. That is a really good stat to try and stack out if we can. It's, you know, if you can get that up higher, better. Good. Right, so on to passive tree. Let's just do gear first of all. So as I say, I've got a front bar, back bar set up. On the front bar, I've got this very nice bow, which I've had since level 65, and it's still lasting me up to level 85 at the moment. So 20 levels. This is a good all-rounder. It's got 4 sockets, which I managed to val in the 4th socket on this, which is pretty good. I bought it as a 3rd for like 5 divine or something like that. I've got extra chaos damage, I've got extra elemental damage on this, got 160 lightning damage, and then increased elemental damage in my sockets. +3 to all attacks, increased attack speed, and my companions get increased attack speed as well, so Poly gets a bit more of a boost on that. Alpha House for the 100 spirit, so we can get Poly activated, and obviously have those extra spirit gems in there. Astral Mantis, because I love the fact that I can spec into anything with this, which is really, really good. And Living Lightning scales with damage, scales with strength, and attack speed scales with dex. So having lots of high attributes works nicely with Living Lightning, which is the initial reason why I stuck it in. Obviously, Ming's Heart, double Ming's Heart is brutal on defense as mentioned, but we gain 48% of damage as extra chaos damage on one ring, and I've got 45% of damage as extra chaos damage on the other ring. So that's a good over 90% extra damage. It's a huge damage boost. I'll just show you what sort of damage we're talking about. So just a standard I shot 23k, taking those off, it goes down to 13k. So it's massive. On Snipe, the Ice Blast goes from 132,000 up to 245,000. So it's huge increase, massive increase, and the Embitter is really going to help on that, to converting that into cold. If I take off Embitter here, you can see like the cold damage is 86k, and that it goes up to 245k. Massive, which is good, because if you hone your damage down from the elements down to cold, then we just need to work on cold penetration, and obviously we get the freeze back under that, which then pushes into Snipe, so it all kind of synergizes quite well. So where else are we? Yeah, so interestingly, the gloves, I've rotated between quite a lot of gloves. This is the one that I've ended up on. This is great for bossing. The immobilize at 50% build up instead of 100% build up is huge. This is where we get, instead of having to build up freeze up to 100, we build it up to 50. And you know, some boss fights, once you've frozen the target, they get a bit of immunity to freeze for a few seconds, which, you know, obviously for obvious reasons, you just can't keep free stunning them. Obviously when that drops, then you're able to just get up to 50% as opposed to 100%, which is it feels like it works better than going for more freeze, or painters I use for more extra damage, or I use the ones where you get 250% crit damage plus crit chance. This seems to work, and in this I've got increased magnitude of damaging elements you inflict, so obviously more freeze, you know, so that's works quite nicely. Body armor and boots are just energy shield based, movement speed obviously for the gloves, for the boots, sorry, and then belt is just resistances. It's the just resistances. That's why I stacked in there. I could go for strength as well, actually would be quite nice. Charms, I've gone for the immunity to freeze, fire resist, and immunity to fire, ignite. Ignite was causing me a bit of a problem, but I guess spec into that as you will. And then pots, I'm due a pot upgrade no doubt, but I've got charges gained per second on both of them, and instant applied a recovery on the mana. So that's gear. Oh, also quivers. So quivers, damage with bow skills, projectile skills, and crit hit for a chance for attack. Could do with some cold on this bow, on this quiver. And on the back one, bow skills, projectile speed. Projectile speed scales with the projectile acceleration 3. So increases and reductions in projectile speed also apply to projectile damage with supported skills. So you want to have a decent amount of projectile speed, which is what we've got with the quiver on the snipe. Again, plenty of space to optimize. These are just cheap, you know, a couple of div, nothing massive. Right, the passive tree. You ready for this? This is my brain. So, Ascendency, let's start with this. Instead of going down the middle and working on Shaper of Storms and Shaper of Winter, I've gone down the outside. We've gone to Tempest Caller for the Elemental Storms. Obviously, we talked about this for getting the Living Lightning up. The Multiplying Schools to the limit of the Elemental skills pushes up all the storms, and also pushes up the number of Elemental Storms we can have, which is great because it's more Living Lightning essentially. Then instead of going, we could go the Remnants route, which is quite nice. Storms Recollection would be good as well because Remnants you create reappear once 3 seconds after being collected. That would be really great for mana recovery. However, I've gone down the Constant Gale for Arcane Surge. I'm not bothered about cast speed too much. But 20% more mana regeneration rate is nice, having that Arcane Surge up. And Force of Will, so 20% of damage is taken from Mana for Life, which we already do that. It's already been taken from mana. But 20% of increased effects of Arcane Surge and you per 10% missing a mana, which is great. So we get more mana recovery as we lose mana, which is kind of our life pool. So that's why I went into there. So we've got a defensive and then we've got a minion builder on that. The front bar, back bar setup I've got on this, on the front bar, we're freezing. So I've gone for the standard route. Let's just do standard route first. So standard route going up, we've got the Vigorous Remnants and the Arcane Remnants for mana and life on kill. A little bit of penetration on the cold with Breath of Ice. More Remnants on Empowering Remnants. Chance for them to be spawned twice. Straight up the middle, and we're taking quite a lot of this glaciation, endless blizzard, and chill to the bone. These are kind of like our core cold skills. Moving to the right, we're picking up Eldritch Battery, obviously, to convert all energy shields to mana, which means we don't have any energy shield, but that's increased my mana pool by quite a bit. And we picked up some crit as well. So there's a couple of nodes clusters for crit. We've got crit hit chance for spells there, and reduces crit hit chance against you, which is quite nice. And down here we've got another one, crit exploit, because obviously we want to do crit for mana remnants as well as getting those elemental storms up. And then further down I picked up heavy frost, so increased freeze build up. Hits ignore non-negative elemental resistances for frozen enemies, which is good. So more damage on that when we hit the snipe, and then thin ice as well. So 50% increased damage with hits against frozen enemies. That's huge for snipe. You know, if they're frozen, we get the snipe off. That's going to add an extra 50% to the 250k already. I mean, that's huge. It's also efficient cast speed at the start as well because of mana efficiency. Mana, that's more important, staying alive. And then over on the left, before we go into the front bar, back bar setup, we've got Storm Charge, so 40% increased damage if you dealt critical hit recently, which we should have, so more elemental damage on that. I've gone for Silent Guardian on the minion one, where you get 10% increased damage, 10% increased minion damage. This is increasing my elemental ailment threshold. We talked about how important that is for, you know, staying alive against fire, ignite, and you know, shock and lightning, all that sort of stuff. Elemental damage, and the other one I have always on is Expendable Army. So I'm turning my Living Lightning from 8 into 10, and with the Orb of Storms, if you wanted to go more, you could go +1 to the orb limit, and we get +2 there as well. So we do get, I think we get 12, is it, Living Lightning? At the moment, you could go for 13 by Secret of the Orb. So front bar is red, which is increased freeze build up, we got 25% of cold damage, extra fire damage against frozen enemies, which won't go into Snipe because this is the front bar setup only. We've got shattering, so increased freeze build up, chill duration on enemies, and magnitude of chill effects on you. Up here we've got increased field in escapable cold, 40% increased freeze build up, and increased freeze duration. The other one to increase duration is here. We've got Blessing of the Moon, so 8% increased skill effect duration per enemy frozen in the last 8 seconds. This is good for like mapping, I suppose. We've got a bit of freeze build up there. On the front bar also I've got this minion increased damage, because I kind of feel like when I'm sniping, it's for a short period of time, my minion's going to be up mostly when I'm going around clearing with the ice shot. So I've kind of kept that little slither there for minions. And where else we got reds? I think that's kind of it for the front bar. Back bar, we've gone for, now back bar, remember, is sniping, so we want to have more elemental damage as possible and penetration. So I've gone for this sort of elemental damage for the snipe, because obviously everything's going to be on that cold hit. We have obviously got the cold stuff on already from the when everything's on front bar or back bar. All natural for 30% increased elemental damage, and then I've also added Bringer of Order. Now this is just 20% increased damage. The minion damage is great, but I've gone into these on the back bar because of the extra 10%, 20%, 10%. So there's a 40% damage there. Elemental penetration as well for cold pen, because obviously we're doing a lot of cold penetration with this. And then there's some more over. Where's the other green ones? Oh yeah, this is the other one. We've gone for pure chaos, so gain 11% of damage as extra chaos damage. This would be nice from front bar as well, because I'm using Embitter on most things. But just I had some spares, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go over here. So we've got pure chaos, so that is a very heavy hitting snipe, and that is the passive tree. Everything on this, if you missed anything or I've not covered everything, is going to be covered on the website at fragmansaul.com. There is a path of building on there on each of the builds, so if you go onto your build that you want to have a look at, you got a bit of a write-up on it. A bit of a write-up on it. There is the POB there, so you can see the path on the passives and my gear that I've got on for the build, and then there's the kind of write down play style and everything like that. So hopefully what I've just been through is repeating itself on the website. If you miss anything, if you can't find anything, come on the Discord, it's linked in down below, and I will go through anything that I need to, if you're missing anything out on that. Jewels as well. Only got 3 jewels on this. Cold damage, crit chance, minion damage. I kind of like the initials I've gone for, and then I've gone for +3 on the caltrop, because I was using caltrops initially for Living Lightning, but I kind of using that for the leech now. So that's been quite a good little bit of a defensive mechanism in there. And I think that is the build with Polly. There she is. So it's been a fun build this. I've kind of enjoyed it. It's been very tricky to get the balance right, but I kind of feel like having the front bar, back bar set up has worked really well. And hopefully, if I decide to take this build a bit further before the end of the league, which I'm not sure I will do because I've got plenty of builds to jump back onto, it's basically fine-tuning the damage and the bows, quivers, gear, more mana, etc., and just trying to like sharpen up the defensive measures on this and get a bit more damage out, which is great. So anyway, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all that sort of stuff. Let me know what other direction you've gone into it. It's been a bit of a, well, it's a hybrid build, isn't it? It's pretty much like they all are, but it's been fun. And on that note, I'm going to go to bed. I will see you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good evening. Good night.